Hello and greetings to you wherever you may be on this beautiful, wonderful planet Earth, the third rock from the sun. Today's date is the 19th of February, 2024. My name is Anthony Altman, and this video is of the self-care series, and it's number 3. And I'm going to be covering cholesterol and pre-diabetes or high blood sugar. I know that I have spoken about these two subjects in a previous video, which I could not find, as I've got about 45 videos on YouTube at the moment. But it's part of something else. This is its own feature. These two subjects have become the feature. So I wish to discuss with you the virtue of learning, of knowledge, of not necessarily believing everything you read or everything that you hear, no matter what the source is. If the source has got anything to do with humans in any way, shape, or form, directly or indirectly, there is a possibility that the information may not be that accurate, that correct. It will be biased in some way. There's so many possibilities, and that if you really want to find your truth, remembering and knowing that everybody sees their truth and somebody else's truth may not be your truth, to find your truth, you are to research. And I go on the internet quite frequently, and I learn a great deal. And I usually access at least 3 different sources of information. And then I look at it all, find out what the average has to say, and then decide what it is that I wish to believe or what I wish to take on board, to accept. In this case, I refer back to my wife and I, our health system. We have a system of health here in Israel, which is really very good. It's like similar to the National Health Service in England, but a lot more efficient. And it's really quite more efficient than many other countries. So you go to the doctor, you don't have to pay for the doctor. You're able to go to your family doctor, and he will have a look at you, prescribe medicine, which you then go to the pharmacy to buy if that's the case, or he will refer you to a specialist. Unfortunately, allopathic, I beg your pardon, allopathic Western medicine loves to separate and specialize, not necessarily treating you as a whole person, but that's their system, and very often it works out quite well. So I wanted to have a blood test every 6 months because the test would tell me more or less the condition of my body. If the creatinine level was too high, I knew that my kidneys were under pressure. So I would deal with that. And my wife and I would go and have a blood test every 6 months. On this occasion, I had a blood test and I had high cholesterol, number 300. The doctor said it should be under 200. I also know that the pharmaceutical companies that make the statin drugs, they actually establish what number you should or should not be, and then that rings a warning bell in my head. So I said to her, and he said, "You must take statin drugs now. You've got to." I said, "Look, I'll come back in 6 months, and then we'll see what happens." So immediately I came home, went on the internet, and did my research. And I accessed maybe 3, 4, or 5 sources because it's quite an important subject, and the information is quite wide and varied. And finally, I came upon an article written by an American doctor who said that cholesterol, in his opinion, was caused by inflammation, because I'm interested in cause, you see. Allopathic medicine, they don't really know what causes high cholesterol. They just want to shut it off. Well, if they shut off all the cholesterol in your body, you'll die, you see. So I read this article, and it said that if your body was acid or there was some imbalance in your body, and it became present inside the inner lining of the vascular system, in the lining or just secondary from the lining sometimes, behind the lining, it would create some kind of irritation, especially if you're acidic, if you have too much acid, you eat too many acid-forming foods, which I have a tendency to do. So there is like a irritation in the vascular system. That's the veins and arteries, and the body, the brain, sees this and sends messages to the liver and elsewhere where cholesterol is formulated to create more cholesterol and go and plaster that area inside the vein or the artery. Now, if a person doesn't realize what's happening and continues their dietary lifestyle, which is not necessarily helping them at all, and there is increased inflammation, which can be caused by a whole variety of reasons, and the irritation just increases, the body will create more cholesterol to slap it on, cover it, as a protection, similar to a Band-Aid or plaster. But the problem is, the more cholesterol that's slapped on, the narrower the blood vessel becomes. So this seemed quite logical to me. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this. So I looked where I could find anti-inflammatories. Now, I have limited knowledge of Ayurveda. I follow the Ayurvedic dietary lifestyle generally, but I also like to snack on nuts and all sorts of things which are acid forming, and I do a bit of binging. It's just the way I am, I guess. I think I'm an emotional eater. That's what my wife tells me. And I came across a book that I've got and other articles on turmeric. And I discovered that turmeric was probably one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories you are able to obtain, much more effective with less. There's no side effects that anybody knows about. So I did my research, and I took a heaped teaspoon of turmeric in the morning and a heaped teaspoon of turmeric in the evening. But I did this as a paste. There's a special recipe. And if you're interested in knowing what the recipe is, please just leave a note down below in the questions, the comments, and I will reply. So I made this paste, which is a turmeric, a little bit of pepper to enhance bioavailability. I used coconut oil and some water, and I mixed it all up, a lovely paste. I put it in the fridge. It kind of got a little bit more solid, and I took a teaspoon of that in the morning and a teaspoon of that in the afternoon. And after a few weeks, I reduced it to about 1 teaspoon. And then I did that for several weeks. I don't remember. If you're interested in doing this, you are to do your own research. And I must impress upon you that this information is just purely my experience, and it's for your information to do with what you want. And I suggest that if you are interested in lowering your cholesterol, go to your medical practitioner, your professional, your doctor, and seek professional advice. And then do what you want, but what you want. So eventually I went, I did this maybe for a month or 2 months or whatever. I went back after 6 months to have my blood test, and my cholesterol had dropped 80 points. So that meant I did not have to take statin drugs. I wouldn't take them anyway. My doctor said, well, you know, what happened? And I told him, and his eyes rolled back. And he kind of had a little difficulty. He has difficulty with me. And On another occasion, my wife and I went and had our blood test, and the doctor said, "Oh, you've got high blood sugar. You are pre-diabetic. Oh, whoa, whoa, you know." And I said to the doctor, "We'll be back in 6 months." So I went on the internet and I did my research. And again, there was another American doctor. You know, there's a lot of very clever American doctors. And he said that he discovered that he knew that blood cells lived for 6 weeks and then they died off and new ones took their place. However, if in the body there was a low level of iron, the blood cells would continue living for 3 months. And because they are living now for so much longer, when you take the A1C3 blood sugar test, it's not the best test because it's not highly reliable. It is a little bit unreliable, as I understand it. So when you take the A1C3 test, it will erroneously detect high levels of sugar because that blood cell that has lived for 3 months and not 6 weeks has accumulated more sugar for some reason. And the solution is to take an iron supplement. And so my wife and I got the liquid iron, very good quality from America. Yeah. And Israel, where I'm living, they now have Israeli-made liquid iron, which is also quite good. And we took this, went back to the doctor, and guess what? Our blood sugar was normal. We told him what we did. His eyes rolled back and didn't know what to say. So the reason I'm making this video is to say that each one of us, individual human beings, do not have to give our power away to anybody, not even the doctor. The doctor takes a Hippocratic oath, but they sometimes fail to support that because they're given information from the pharmaceutical companies. And that information is in favor of the pharmaceutical company, not necessarily in favor of the individual. So sometimes the doctor may not give the whole story because sometimes they just don't know. And sometimes the doctor may have a terrible row with his wife one day, come to work in a bad mood, and you come to see him and he's not able to give you the best information. So the doctor is a human being, subject to all the human being weaknesses and strengths. So the idea is to get your prognosis, diagnosis, and then go and do your own research, and then go and discuss it with the doctor. Because sometimes the doctor can learn from you. And this is what happened. When we had the high blood sugar episode, when we went to see the doctor, there was a student doctor learning under the tutelage of our family doctor. And when we told him the story, he said, "Oh, yeah, Dr. Google." And I said, "Excuse me, I did a lot of research, maybe 4 or 5 different sources. And what I did was the result of a medical paper, peer-reviewed, by an American doctor." And then our family doctor said to the student doctor, "They are right. Their information that they've just said is that they are correct. Iron, the lack of iron does such and such, and an iron supplement can be the cure." That shut the student doctor up, but this tells you how they are taught. Ridicule the person doing their own research. It's my body, and I have jurisdiction over it. And I'd rather make a mistake and suffer the consequences than somebody telling me what to do, and I'm listening to them blindly, and there is a big problem. I would be very angry with them, but more so with me for listening. So the idea is learn what's going on, do your research, discuss it with a doctor, and then make your own decision. So thank you for joining me on this road less traveled. and I will see you another time. Thank you.